This is an intro. Intro.
Hustle and Flow Chart with your boy, my boy, Matt Wolf and Joe Fair. Hey.
Yo.
Hi.
Welcome back to the Hustle and Flow Chart podcast.
Welcome.
This is one of those...
recording?
We are recording.
We're recording.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we're actually not in the same location for this one. We're social distancing for this one day only, although we haven't social distanced at all for the last 3 months from each other. We've social distanced.
We do.
Not from each other.
Yes. We've been in bubbles and I feel like we're just an extended family and all is well here. But yes, today we are virtual and I think it'll work out fine. More for time constraints because you're about to go on a cool trip.
Yeah.
To Colorado.
Yep. I'm leaving for Colorado tomorrow to visit some family that lives out there. And, we were going to do some touristy stuff, but I don't know if there's going to be much touristy stuff to do. So we'll see.
Probably not. But yeah, we started this last month with kind of like a recap of the month. So the month prior to the release of this is usually released on like a Saturday is what we're planning it towards the beginning of the month. And I think it went over really well. We heard good feedback and I selfishly, we just like talking. So this is our chance to talk about our stuff a little bit, not just an interview format. So it's kind of like a little special episode for people who are subscribers and looking at the feed.
Yeah, I mean, this one, we're not going to have a show notes page for it. We don't have companion notes for it. It's not being released on our normal Tuesday, Thursday schedule. It's just kind of like an extra once a month episode where we're just kind of looking back at the last 30-ish days and going, what were our biggest takeaways over 30 days? What were some of the cool things that happened over the last 30 days? What are some of the things that we're excited about coming up over the next 30 days? And just kind of sort of a state the state of the union. This is like the state of our business sort of session. And originally, like if you listened to last month when we did it, we're like, let's shoot for 15 or 20 minutes. And I think we went for like an hour 7. We're going to try to keep this one a little bit shorter, but we, at least this time we know what we're doing with it. Last time we didn't.
Well, I got to give a shout out to Dean Booty. I love your name. Dean actually is an awesome gentleman from the UK, and he's a podcaster as well. But he said, he was one that wrote in after listening to one of these episodes, and he's like, dude, like you guys, I just wanted to keep listening, and like. It's just, it's just really cool to hear that. And it's just funny that was like an hour 7 or whatever it was. Well, it was far too long. And he's like, I could have kept listening all day. I'm like, oh, that's cool. So, Dean, thank you.
They kind of remind me of like, remember, I don't know if they still do them or not, but remember when Tim Ferriss and Kevin Rose used to do their random episodes and they were just kind of like,
show.
Yeah, the random show. And they would just talk about like, here's what's going on in our lives. Here's some cool tools. Here's some cool software. Here's a cool book I'm reading. Like just whatever kind of comes up. And we're not doing the therapy sessions as much. We do have a therapy session coming up that's we're doing special for our 300th episode. But this is kind of our sort of replacement for those therapy sessions.
Yeah. So we're going to keep doing this. And, if you like this, if you hate it, if you don't, whatever, it doesn't matter. Right.
Don't care.
I'd like to hear about it. But I was
going to say, if you don't like it, screw you. No,
right into us. So we always like to hear from you. So let's give it a shot. Yeah. info@evergreenprofits.com and give us a shout. So let's get into it because lots of things are happening.
Oh, yeah. So one of the things we're doing is, I just mentioned we're going to do our 300th episode. It's coming up quick. We're going to be recording that in a couple weeks. And one of the ideas we had was kind of doing like an Ask Us Anything sort of thing where you send us your questions. It doesn't matter anything about our business, our lives, anything. We're open books. We'll do like a Ask Us Anything episode and we'll just kind of riff on the questions that come in. So if you have anything you want to hear us talk about on our 300th episode, send it to support, info@evergreenprofits.com. Joe will see those emails. Sue will see those emails, and we'll start keeping a little collection of questions and comments that come up. Even if you want to just email us and say, what your favorite episode was so far, or email us and say a big takeaway you've got from one of our episodes. Anybody who writes in, we'll probably shout you out on that episode and answer your questions and talk a little bit about what you've enjoyed about the show and do some really, really cool stuff for that 300th episode. So send us some emails. We want to hear from you.
That's crazy. 300. I was just actually looking back at our podcast last night. I was just scrolling down. I was like, wow, we've had a lot of shows. And then I saw like the 100th episode, which we recorded out in my deck over here. And we even like wrote on the window. It was like, it's 100. And I was just like, holy crap, we're at 300 now? I know we bumped the frequency up twice a week now, but still, I'm like, that's 300. It's over. Well over 300 hours of audio time, just interview time, and I'm just like so damn grateful to talk to that 300 hours, over 300 hours worth of just really cool people. Really, obviously some of them are just the two of us, but my God, man, like just podcasting is so damn cool. And I know we've talked a lot about it, but like it's just opened up so many cool things for us, and we'll talk about a lot of those right now too.
We didn't really make much of a deal about our 200th episode. I think it was an interview where we had Dennis Yu on, if I remember correctly. We may have said in the intro, "Hey, it's our 200th episode." We may not have even like addressed it. I don't know, but I don't know. I think it's kind of cool to address the sort of milestone episodes, and so 300th is the next cool milestone that we're going to talk about. Although it really is technically more than 300 because we're doing these episodes, but you can ignore that.
These are bonuses, and we'll be recording that one at the beach. I think that's the plan, at least. Socially distancing at the beach, of course. So we will do that properly. All right, with a beer in our hands. And all right,
we'll have to figure out how to video that one. That'll be interesting. We'll because we're doing videos for all. So let's just jump in. All right. So one of the things we're starting to do now is every interview that we do, we have we flip on the camera. Like this kind of a fairly new thing for us. The last like maybe 3 to 4 podcast days, we flipped on the camera and actually interview with video on, which we never used to do. Which is cool for multiple reasons. One, we get to repurpose this content. We're actually really starting to put focus on our YouTube channel now. So go check out the Hustle and Flowchart YouTube channel. As of this recording, I think we've got like 60 subscribers, so we need your help.
Bump it up.
So the Hustle and Flowchart YouTube channel, we're actually starting to post video clips from these interviews and stuff now.
You're supposed to say, smash that subscribe button. Smash it good. Can't say, I guess, click it. I don't know.
Smash the bell too, right? Because that's the one that sends them, that gives them the notifications.
Get notified. I don't know. We're not YouTubers, but it's definitely, YouTube is a place that's been like a black hole for us in terms of this brand, at least. So we figured, okay, well, Jacob on our team, who manages all of our podcast processes and distribution, all that stuff, it's just a natural evolution. So he's heading that up for us. And we flip on these cameras and for a while we thought that would change the dynamic of the interviews and all that stuff. And I'm sure it did, but at the same time, I don't know, maybe we're just more comfortable with it, but
I think it changed for the better though. Like I think it did change the dynamic, but I think it changed for the better because you and I can now get a better feel of our guests' reactions to questions, right? Like we might ask a question and the expression on their face, we can tell like, oh, this is a rabbit hole that they're pumped to go down, or they're not really into this topic. After they answer this question, let's kind of shift into something else. Like this sort of body language and stuff like that we didn't get with video, we get now. And I think it actually makes it a smoother interview process. I feel like the interviews go by faster too, actually. But
they do. Yeah, there was because we interviewed Stephen Kotler last week at the time of this recording. And I just remember he was just had so many expressions. Like he was just bouncing around. He would lean in like when something was super funny and you'd see an expression on his face. And it was just that, like, you would never get that with just audio only. Yeah. And it was us looking at that. We're like, all right, cool. Like we got some cool rapport here. Like we're on a good vein. He's flowing. And, but like, I think you're right. Yeah. I think, video's working out. So probably the next evolution is to improve our video-ness with, we're chatting with some buddies. Mars Burden is like the god overlord of online video and just badass, like switching cameras and stuff. So he's of the Launchman company. They do a ton of live streams for like, they did Rich Sheffrin's, but like Tony Robbins type stuff, like huge. So got to have him on the show, by the way, too.
Yeah.
But he gave us his setup. So I think that's probably the next evolution is upgrade, maybe multi-cam. That's still easy to splice together, but it'll look cool.
Right now we are recording videos, but we're recording Zoom videos and they're all kind of crappy quality
with webcam, like just logic. It's not like it's fancy. Like we don't have DSLRs and all that stuff around us, but
I think
we'll get there.
Where we'd like to take the podcast is we'd love to have our own sort of studio with kind of cameras already pre-set up. So there's like a camera pointed on me, a camera pointed on Joe, a wide shot where you could see both of us, and then maybe like a TV screen where we can see our guest on the screen. And then ideally we'll have a lot of guests in person too. Right now we record at my house. It's kind of awkward to be like, hey, let's go record my podcast. Where's your studio? It's just my office in my house. So we'd like to get that studio, that sort of like middle ground between the two of us. That's like where we could go and do the podcast. But it's also just kind of like pre-set up. We just show up and we hit record and the video's going, the audio's going. It's like, it's already ready for us. Right now on podcast days, I have to like sort of convert my office into a podcast studio, right? I got to like set up all the microphones and, get it all decked out. And, we're very aware it's on camera. So I got to make sure it's clean in my office behind me and all that kind of stuff. Where if we had kind of an office where we just show up, we know who we're recording with, we hit record and everything's like ready to go and dialed in, that's going to be sweet. So that's... Yeah,
I noticed you did clean up your office since last time I've been there. You picked up that puzzle off the ground, which I was wondering, what the hell is on your ground over there? And it was like, it was a puzzle, and Matt said that he didn't want to destroy it because it took him forever to make. So, did you destroy it?
That was not... No, I didn't destroy it. I just I moved it to my garage. But that was not there on podcast day. So you're not as...
not as aware.
As you think you are.
Well... It was like 2 podcast days ago. That's what it was. Yeah. During the Kotler day, I think it was.
Yeah. Well, so like we mentioned earlier, I'm going to Colorado for about 8 days, leaving tomorrow morning. But because of that, we actually squeezed 3 podcast days in this month, and they were all fairly close together. Like we had a full day of podcasting one day, and then I think we had a week gap. And then we had a full day of podcasting, and then we had the weekend, right? We had like Saturday, Sunday, and then we did another full day of podcasting. And so like it was
a lot.
We did a lot of interviews in the month of July.
I mean, that's the thing is it's a drainer at the end of the day, typically on podcast days. We've talked about it. And if you listen to our intros, we typically batch record our intros too. That's why like sometimes
at the very end of the day,
which I don't know if that's smart or not, but it's kind of the flow of the day. It just works out that way. But yeah, that's typically we sound much more tired. I'm usually like, shit, I got to get home because my wife and baby, it's already 6:00 or 6:30 or whatever. And it's like, got to put her down to bed, but I'm brain dead right now. I just feel like I'm like spent staring at this monitor all day, and you have to be on, which is great. I mean, it's draining in a good way, but like we've talked about it, it's almost like there's like this hangover effect when kind of like going to a seminar. If you're just constantly on your feet talking to a new person like every 2 minutes, and then like really trying to engage in the conversation, which you should be doing, but like imagine that, but like 3 times in a day condensed in, then you do it again, like only a few days later. Yeah, I'm still kind of have a lack of sleep and hangover feeling, but it's all good.
Luckily, we've got like a good 2.5 week gap. So like we have a nice little break in the podcasting for a bit.
I'm guesting on a few shows while you're gone though, I think. So I'm like, that's all good though.
We actually just did an interview on somebody else's show right before we hit record on this show. So it's like
digital marketer. It was like a little teaser for their traffic and conversion summit. And they interviewed us, or Bethany did over there. So shout out to Bethany if you're listening. You said you listened to most of the episodes, so let's see if you get this one.
Yeah.
You rock. And you do ask good questions. As not a podcaster, I think you should be.
You ask a lot better questions than many of the podcasts I've been on.
That is absolutely true. So I feel like it's totally different though when you're on the other side of the mic. When you're being interviewed, piece of cake. Like I love it. I mean, I love both sides, but like that's not the part where you got to be like as on, I guess. You got to
Which
be
is
on.
funny because when you're being interviewed, you're usually talking more than when you're doing the interviewing. But doing the interviewing is so much more mentally exhausting. It's almost like when I'm being interviewed, I'm sort of in automatic mode because it's a lot of the same kinds of questions. Like everybody kind of asks different questions and has their own spin on it, but it's all this sort of similar topics around podcasting, affiliate marketing, traffic. It's like the shit that we've been immersed in for like 13 plus years now is the types of stuff people are asking us on those podcasts. So when we're being interviewed on other people's podcasts, it's almost like our brains just, as Kotler would say, our prefrontal cortex shuts off and we're just kind of like on automatic mode, just like flowing with the conversation. Where when we're the podcaster, it's sort of our jobs to make sure that we're keeping the conversation going in a particular direction. We're paying attention to what they're saying so that like we can ask follow-up questions and be the voice of the audience. Plus we have our own sort of selfish questions that we want to make sure we get to at some point. And just like the combination of all of this stuff uses a lot of mental energy. So despite the fact that we're talking less when we're actually interviewing, it's so much more mentally exhausting to be the interviewer than the interviewee. It's weird.
I know our problem. We don't do hippie speedballs before our podcast days.
Hippie speedballs. Yeah.
You got to listen to the Kotler episode when that goes live to find out what that is.
Yeah.
It involves some substances, some activities, and I've actually not done it yet, but
well, I mean, to be fair, I probably have done it and not realized that that's what I was doing.
Yeah. It's more like it's the combination of all of them in a tightly knit thing. I don't know.
I've done the combination of the two substances before. I definitely know that.
But you haven't run, huh? You haven't.
The precursor. Well, now that you said that, we should just talk about what the hippie speedball
All right, fine.
is.
What's a hippie speedball?
So a hippie speedball is a 20-minute run, chug a coffee, smoke a joint. And what that does is it puts you in like an ultra creative flow state. So if you need to be like in according to Kotler, again, we haven't actually tested this ourselves really knowingly.
They said it's been done for like a long time. Like a lot of even athletes used to do this, obviously probably not anymore, but it's like the whole idea is to shut down the prefrontal cortex, which is your conscious thinking mind that typically stops you from getting into flow and creativity. And you do some freaking running that gets your endorphins going. I mean, that's honestly been like my hack lately, is not the speedball, but part of it, and the running and maybe a little bit of substances, but definitely like just the fact of like the act of running. I think we talked about it last time. It's like shuts down the mental, this weird chatter, but the endorphins, man, they feel so good. And then you add in the other stuff. And I think it's more like it just like hyper speeds into, all right, now you got some creative stuff to do. Go.
I admittedly have definitely done the weed and coffee combo before. I've definitely done that. I mean, it's a great way to wake up in the morning. But the run, no, I'm just kidding. No,
I don't think you do that in the morning.
No, that's not. I don't. I would not be able to function if I smoked weed during the day.
Right.
And I do smoke weed at night sometimes because I specifically want to stop functioning. Like my wheels are. My wheels are always spinning. Yeah.
Yeah, with Ryan Moran, we even talked about that, like how it's like, well, not the weed specifically, but just how like he was saying, like, a whiskey, like whatever it takes, like a glass of whiskey, but he's coming up with supplement lines that help with all this. But specifically, entrepreneurs, it's tough to shut down the brain, the wheels at night. And I feel like I didn't used to have those problems, but like now it's becoming more so. But I don't see it as a problem. I think it's just because I'm genuinely like super excited and there's all these weird connections my brain's making. But you got to give your brain a mental rest somehow though.
Yeah. But if I try to do it during the day where I know I need to get work done, my brain just gets fogged up and I can't focus and I can't get shit done. So I can't do it during the day, but it is, it has kind of become part of my nightly ritual when it gets close to bedtime. All right, this will stop the wheels from spinning for that 8 hours or so I'm trying to get some sleep in.
Yeah, it's good. Hey, whatever works.
Yep.
All right, so let's we got a whole list of things. I mean, this month, July, freaking flew by scarily, as this year has done so far in 2020, and I feel like the world's just getting crazier by the day in just different ways. I mean, I don't know where this is all going to head, but I feel like for us personally, like you and I, like, and just mentally, business wise, like shit's popping. It's good. It's like really, I feel like we're finding, we found our sweet spot, found our groove. I don't know. It just feels like everything's kind of, I got my groove back.
How Joey got his groove back.
Yeah, this is how in quarantine.
So
yeah, cool. In quarantine groove. No one has to see me. Groove all I want. Yeah. So I mean, let's chat about. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's happening, obviously in the world outside kind of factors, but there's a lot of internal stuff that we've been doing that I feel like is really helping us out to stay mentally grounded. I know you've done some work with Aaron at MindFix, which I'm curious to hear about that. So I haven't heard the whole scoop. And by the way, freaking Aaron's just a badass, by the way. So check out that episode. Always got to give her a shout out because she's like legit changed how I think. And I'm going to continue to work with her as well. So stoked that you had an experience as well, Matt. I just referred someone her way last night. Because like, yeah, you hear these freaking patterns and you don't have to live with that crap. Yeah. So, and then there's other things like cool partnerships and projects we're working on that we haven't really talked a lot about, but it's like these it's just like this weird combination of things are colliding all at once. Like these mentors, these people that we've looked up to for years are like, we're chatting with them every day. It seems like now we're partners with some of them, and I don't know, it's just really exciting. So where should we start? Let's talk about your mental stuff, unless you have something else.
No, we can start there. I always got to remember, well, I'm going to have to start to remember, like, this is what I'm writing in the insights section of our newsletter often. So if you get the EGP letter, you know, at the end of the EGP letter, I always write like an insights section of like, these are our biggest takeaways from the past 30 days or so. Well, this is how we create that insight section is we talk it out, figure out what our biggest insights were. And then, you know, we decided to post it to our RSS feed because why the hell not? So, we need to be able to pull some good insights out of this. So I need to remember that. So my, and if you're not a subscriber of the EGP letter, come on, dude, it's $15 a month or $59 a year for the digital version. Like, what are you doing? Come on. Anyway.
And I threw this out there last month and I don't think anyone actually reached. I mean, people did definitely join, but like, hey, if you feel like that's still too steep for you, no judgment, man. Just or gal, whoever, like, write into our support info@evergreenprofits.com and we'll hook you up with some kind of discount. Obviously, we have some costs on the physical side of stuff, but like, if times are tough and you like really think like this is going to help you out, we want to help you. So. Write in info@evergreenprofits.com and let us know that you want to be a member and we'll work something out with you.
Faux shizzle. All right. So that's the pitch out of the way.
It's the give.
It is a give. Yes. It's well, we want you to consume more of our content and we're okay losing.
We want you to progress.
No. I want you to consume.
Consume. Well, how about I
want you to learn. Educate, get better,
do something with it. Information's shit without action. So pick something and act on it. Like, I think that's that's the gold here. So
pick something and act on it. Yes.
You sound like that's not
No, I'm agreeing. I'm just in a weird mind state right now.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, so I'm on heroin. No, I'm just
whoa.
No, I'm just kidding. It's cocaine.
It's the synthetic way to flow state. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm on zero substances other than caffeine.
Way too much caffeine right now.
Probably. I did have a coffee and this is a sugar-free water sweetener with caffeine in it. So
I'm on coffee number 2 right now because of a baby and lack of sleep.
Yeah, that happens with babies.
All right, let's talk about this. Let's get into it. Insights.
All right. Yeah, so last month we kind of got to hear about your experience with Aaron at MindFix. We kind of talked about it on our last sort of insights episode. And by that point, you were kind of razzing me for not having my call with her yet and not scheduling it. And so after
you gave me the permission to razz you.
I did.
So I took full advantage of it.
And so after we recorded our last one, I think the same day, I actually emailed Aaron and was like, all right, I'm sorry it took me so long to get back to you. Let's do this thing. Right. So I had a call with her. And, we talked about it on the last one, but her main thing is almost all of the tendencies that you have in your life, they stem from these sort of deep-seated beliefs that come from your past. And those beliefs are holding you back in ways. And if you can break through those negative belief patterns, then you can sort of clear up the issues. And it is insanely profound how quickly this shit can work, right?
So that's the key right there, actually. Like, talk about that, because that doesn't seem real. Like, how fast you can actually switch your thinking in, like, literally in the course of just a conversation in like 5-10 minutes. Mm-hmm. You can literally change your action and your thinking patterns.
So I had a call with her on a Wednesday. We had a podcast day on a Thursday. And the thing that she was helping me work through was related to the podcast, and it was fixed by the Thursday we started doing the podcasts.
I saw the difference because that was the day before we interviewed Stephen Kotler. Like, talk about that, actually, because like, I have my own preparation when there's someone that I feel like I don't know, like, there's a bigger name coming on the show. They have a lot of work that's been put out there, like books and all that stuff. And then obviously we're interested in the person. I personally like have this weird mental thing, like I got to over prepare for that person. But I don't do that with everyone. So, but like with you, I know you have a different thing going on.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to the podcast, I think I actually stress out if I feel too prepared. Like, because I feel like if I'm too prepared for the podcast, it's going to feel less conversational and more rigid, right? Like, okay, these are all the topics I want to make sure we touch on. And if I'm trying to stay in that lane, then the podcast I don't think flows as well. Where if I kind of come in going, okay, here's a few like main ideas I know we're going to eventually get to, but however the conversation unfolds, that's how it unfolds. If I just kind of come into it that way, then I actually feel a lot better going to the conversations, not being too prepared. So it's sort of a different way to approach it. And I don't think either way is better or worse than the other. I mean, you like to go and do a lot more research and have a lot more notes and a lot of things like sort of queued up and ready to go. For me, that actually sort of freaks me out to have that much stuff ready, but it makes for a good balance on the episode, right? Like I'll ask questions from the perspective of someone who doesn't really know much about the guest, and you'll ask questions from the perspective of somebody who's done some deep research. So I think it makes for a good dynamic for the show, to be honest. But the thing that I was working through with Aaron was sort of what you were talking about. When there's guests coming on that we kind of put up on a pedestal, we're like, okay, this person is well respected among our peers. And since this person is so well respected among our peers, I feel this need to want to impress them and have that person feel like I'm smart, right? Like I'm an equal with them. I'm equally as smart kind of thing. And that was sort of the thing I was working through with Aaron, is like, why do I get this feeling of like, why do I get nervous before podcasts when the guest is someone that I kind of put on a pedestal? Like, how do I get over that? And that was what she helped me work through. She helped me work through this sort of belief that I need to come across as smart to everybody I talk to. She helped me work through this belief that that maybe some of my questions are stupid and aren't worth asking. She helped me work through the belief that asking a question that maybe the guest doesn't like could create conflict, right? So those are kind of the things that I was working through with Aaron, that after the work we did, we had a 90-minute session, and the next day that shit felt completely cleared from my mind. I just felt like I didn't have that anymore. You could put Obama on the call with us tomorrow, and I would have felt cool as a cucumber jumping on the call.
That's cool. No, I mean, so talk about like, did you feel the change? Like, did you feel that there was like I think differently now? Or was it something that was more like that's like, I'm confident in myself. Like I just have like, it's cool. It's all good.
It was more retrospect. So like after talking with Aaron, I kind of got off the call going, that was cool. That was interesting. I kind of learned some stuff that was in my brain that maybe I didn't really realize was having as big of an impact on me as it actually is. But I don't know if that really worked. I don't really know if it helped me that much, right? That's kind of how I felt getting off the call. Next day we had podcast day. I don't really get anxious before podcast days, but like when there is somebody that we like Kotler, I was sort of nervous about interviewing him. I'm like, I didn't know what to expect with him. And typically I would have been a little anxious around interviewing someone like Kotler. And when I got on the show, I was just like, I felt like I'd known the guy forever. I was calm. I had no issues asking him questions. I had no issues, talking about controversial topics with him. It was just like, I felt like it all just flowed. And at the end of the podcast day, looking back on that podcast day, I kind of went, holy shit, that it worked. It was really, really effective. And so it was kind of like, in retrospect, I realized, dang, that worked. And then it's like a snowball effect, right? Now my brain goes, okay, that worked. And then we had another podcast day like 3 days later, because we did one on Monday. And on that day, like the snowball had still been there from the prior podcast day. I was kind of like, yeah, I'm good at that. My brain was kind of going, hell, I'm good at this stuff now. I don't get those sort of things. And once again, I didn't get them. And it sort of revalidated like, okay, this is fixed. And now every subsequent like call that I get on or interview that I do or anything like that, I feel slightly more comfortable because like each prior interview just sort of justified and verified that like that worked. And it just
proved to yourself. Yeah. You just proved to yourself that shit. I'm good enough for it. Like, yeah, I'm capable of this. Like, it's kind of like, because you were proving to yourself before by your actions that like, yeah, not asking these questions like is okay. Like I'm kind of, you weren't telling yourself you're scared to put it out there, but like, it was kind of like this internal dialogue. You were proving it to yourself. Like if you weren't asking that question, then like, yeah, I guess that's the way you have to be, but you've completely flipped it. Yeah. And now you prove it in like, cause I experienced it too. And I saw you, cause typically I would be the one, like you've told me this before and we've even talked about it, that like, I'm typically the one that is the, like, especially like not a tactical type of show. You're not as prevalent in the episode in terms of asking questions and stuff. Whereas like with Kotler definitely was one of a mindset. Obviously he's a flow guy. Not a lot. There wasn't like a specific marketing tactic, like drill down framework or anything. Yeah, but you were in there freaking hot. You were just going after it. It was cool. I saw the difference in you, and I think that's going to make the show better. It made like the whole conversation much more colorful. Yeah.
No, after our last 2 podcast days, I think we've had this conversation of like, man, I look back on those podcast days and go, I asked everything I wanted to ask. I didn't like hold back on anything. And there was definitely questions in there where the prior to working with Aaron, I don't know if I would have asked that question. In my mind, I might've been like, oh, they would see this as a dumb question, or this is a controversial question, or this, like, maybe they wouldn't like me asking this or whatever. And the last 2 podcast days, that's just hasn't existed. It's just like, whatever pops into my mind, I'm happy to ask the question, and I don't care how much of a pedestal most people put this person on. They're not on a pedestal for me anymore.
That's sick, dude. So we're actually going to do don't have the date yet, but we're actually going to do like a little mini like session with Aaron to our Facebook group and to our community, to the EGP members. We'll get a recording of the video. But so if you're curious and listening to this stuff, join our Facebook group for one at flowchartgroup.com. It's free. There's not for sale there. And then you will get on our email list by doing that. So make sure to put a good email address so you actually know when this thing's coming up. But I think it'd be cool for folks to see this in action, because we're going to bring in one of our customers and friends onto that to basically do this in real time, like on like a surface level kind of belief, but one that almost everyone deals with, which is basically, I'm not good enough or I'm not worthy. That's usually like the thing that holds most of us back. And and you might think that you've been treating it with like self-help books and all that stuff, but like really it feels like that's more the surface level rather than actually getting to the root like you just did.
Do we already know who she's working with?
Steve Dale.
Oh, nice.
Mr. Steve Dale. Yeah. I just don't have a date locked down yet. I got to figure that out today, actually. So join the group, be on the email list. You're probably already on there if you're listening to this, because this is kind of a special for subscribers show anyway. So, but get in there, because in the next like week or 2, we're going to do that.
Yeah.
And I got to yell at my wife really quick. Not fair. She's making bacon right now, and I smell it, and it's freaking, all I can smell right now is bacon in my office, and I don't have any in front of me.
Do you not get to eat it when she's done?
I want it now. It's bacon. How do you resist bacon for another like 30 minutes or something? It's like, I'm starving.
So
Now
it's
I
just
am.
not fair because you could smell it, you want to eat it now, but you're still going to get to eat it.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe she only made it for herself. Maybe it's all gone by the time I'm off. Like, we got to wrap this thing up. I got to go eat bacon now.
All right. Well, we could just talk
But I'm
faster
serious.
now.
No, I'm kidding. But that is all I can smell right now is bacon, and it's really distracting.
I got to get Joe to his bacon. Got to figure it.
Thought I'd bring home the bacon. All right.
Heather's just sitting in the other room going, what the fuck is he talking about right now?
Probably. She knows I'm on a podcast, so she's probably very confused. As Matt puts the fan on because bacon's coming your way too.
I wish. No. I want to ask me actually to go pick up lunch, and I need to do that at some point. It's already 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock. We have really interesting eating schedules. All right. So Aaron's awesome. MindFix is awesome. You are awesome for doing that because I think that's going to open up a lot of cool stuff. And I think the podcast is just step one. Like, think about all the cool things I've even seen this in calls with like just the interesting partners that we have now, like i.e. Jay Abraham and, partnering up on a project there and doing things with other folks, with Roland Frazier, Oliver, Unicorn Equity, like we've been talking about. Like, I feel like it's going to show up, and I've already seen you show up in different ways on those calls too. So
yeah, a lot of that kind of stuff. I think it's partially from Aaron's help, but it's also familiarity, right? Like a lot of these people, Jay Abraham, we've worked pretty closely with lately. Rich Sheffrin, we've worked very closely with lately. Roland Frey, all these names that you're mentioning, like we've built pretty strong relationships. So like now it's more the familiarity thing of like, okay, I know how to talk to these guys now. But with the podcast, it's almost like we're always coming in cold. Like 9 out of 10 interviews we don't really know the person that well. I think we do a pretty good job of making it come across like we know our guests really well. But to be totally transparent, like 9 out of 10 times, our podcast is the first time we're chatting with these people.
Most of the time. Yeah. And if it's not, it's something that I've usually talked with them before, and Matt typically has not. So like in your case, you are coming in the coldest out of everyone typically. And, but that's all right. It seems to work. It will work, the more we go down the rabbit hole. So cool. Anything else on that, or shall we move on?
I think we kind of covered that there. To sort of get to like what sort of fixed it, to be honest, it was really sort of like the realizations of like why I'm like that, right? There's events in my past that when I look back at the event and go, well, for example, I had when I worked at the shutter company years and years ago, I had a boss who was a very sort of abusive, like verbally abusive, and even he threatened physical violence, never actually physically hurt me, but threatened it all the time. And he was just like a very, very abusive person. And so when I was working in that job, I always had to walk on eggshells around him, right? Like I used to go to him and like ask him a question about like, hey, should I order more of this part or something? And depending on his mood, he could either be like, yeah, we should order more parts, or he could just be in a pissed off mood and tell me to get the fuck out of his office and just like flip out on me like, oh, I don't have time for this shit, that's your job to figure that out, right? So you never knew which one you were going to get from him. You never knew if you were going to get like Friendly Lee or Dickwad Lee, right? And I could say his name, he's dead, but that's a whole other topic.
Confirmed.
Nobody's listening to this episode going, oh, they shouldn't talk about him that way, because anybody who knows him didn't like him. But he was just he was an evil person, right? And so talking to Erin, she's like, of course you're going to hesitate when talking to people and asking them questions if it's baked into your brain from past jobs that asking a question could be a potential life or death scenario, or could be a potential getting just reamed by your boss by asking an innocent question. And if that got baked into your brain while you were working all that time under that person, don't you think some of that's still lingering when you're trying to do interviews and things like that? And sort of looking at like, why do I operate like this was what was effective. So she goes on and asked me like, have you experienced any other scenarios where that happens, where you need to walk on eggshells in your line of questioning, or you might get blown up on or threaten physical violence on? And I was like, come to think of it, not really. And so by the end of the session, she kind of helped me feel like, the fears are based on one incident, not all incidents. And like the reason I'm like that is based on like real illogical reasoning, right? Like it's illogical to believe that most of my conversations are me walking on eggshells and I could potentially get yelled at. So just because you had that one experience doesn't mean that's just how conversations are. That means that's how that one idiot was. Right.
So you confirmed like this is the truth because of that one person, that one scenario. Obviously it was an ongoing thing, but it was really that one guy.
Yeah. Your brain could be a jerk sometimes, right? Your brain can your brain could look at one scenario and the outcome of that one scenario and associate it with all similar scenarios and basically say, because at this time, the outcome of this the outcome of this input was this, my brain started to believe that the outcome of every input like that is going to be that, which is an illogical way of thinking, but that's just kind of how our brains are wired. They're wired to make those associations of like, this is what happened when that scenario happened, so that's probably how it's going to happen next time that scenario happens. But that's not true. And when you really all we're doing when we're working with Aaron is like finding the reasons we're like that and then helping ourselves realize, okay, that's not how the world and people really work. That's just how that one situation worked. And I can go on and on with more and more stories around that kind of thing. Like, I operate like this because of this experience. I operate like this because of this experience. And there's a whole bunch of experiences that Aaron helped me work through to realize that almost all of those scenarios were kind of like isolated outlier events. That's not real, Yeah.
Yeah, and then after you look at it in a logical way like that, like you have, and like I did with my stuff, you start to look and you're like, interesting. Like now it makes a lot more sense. Like for some reason it just clicks, really quick. And then I know in my case, like saying no to more things and perfectionism and all these other things I work through. It's almost like I see it as a game now to prove myself that I am capable of this new thinking pattern. And it's not one of resistance, like it just happens. But like when I log it down or if I reflect on my day, like I just actually, I turned down a call later that really was going to conflict with some of the other stuff like I wanted to get done today. I'm like, well, the call can be moved. That's not a big deal. Like I had no problem. At first I'd be like, oh, I'm guilty, but I got to prove it. I got to be good. I'm like, no, actually, like, yeah. So it's interesting. I'm making it more like a game for me, with the stuff I'm working through. And I think you are too, having fun with it.
Yeah. So. But I think that's a good sort of covering of that topic.
Yeah. That was solid.
So from all of the interviews that we've done, like I said earlier, like I think since the last time we recorded one of these, we've done 3 podcast days. So
we've done a lot. And
we've interviewed about 9 or 10 people just since we've recorded our last one of these insight sections. So I'm curious if there's any specifics that are like really drawing to your mind where like, oh, I really want to touch on this conversation we had.
I loved the Stephen Kotler interview. I felt like we could have kept chatting with him for hours. That's going to be one of my favorites to release just because of just the topic, but also he genuinely, like, we hit it off really well with him and we had a really good time with him. So he was awesome. Will's already, I don't know if that was within our 3.
We recorded it already, I think, but I don't think we had released it yet.
Okay, so yeah, Will's was like another one. He's kind of like Stephen Kotler, which ironically they actually work together because Stephen's an advisor in Ojai energetics with Will. But just those two guys, like and even like Ryan Moran, we spoke with him. I feel like these guys think of the world, they think of systems, they think of just by like science, like how your mindset, how you interact with your days. Nick Peterson's another one too. The filters you put on your days, the bumpers you put on your days, like it's just a different approach to life. And that's what I'm really kind of nerding out on. And that's what I take away from those guys. And there's a lot of names I'm not even thinking of right now because we've chatted with so many people, but that's like the ongoing theme, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. I think we're having, so when it comes to the last several podcasts that we've done, I think I really either like to relate with the person right? Like with Ryan Moran.
Punch him in the face. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but when we chatted with like Ryan Moran, and when we chatted with John Cristani, and when we chatted with like a handful of our interviews lately, I feel like we've really like related well with them. We're just like, this person is a fun conversation, and we get into like a flow state, right? Like the time just flies by, and we look at the clock and we're like, damn, that was an hour already on this call. I can talk for another hour if we didn't do batch recording days and we didn't have another interview we needed to jump on, right? So like I really love those interviews. And then I also love to be fascinated, right? Like I love to go at the end of the episode, go, man, he really changed my perspective, or she really changed my perspective on like a lot of things based on that episode. Like that was mind blowing. And Will Clyden, when we talked to him, my mind was fucking blown, right? Like he was talking about using hemp, which is one of the most sustainable plants on the planet, to fuel jets and stuff. Like what? Talking to Stephen Kotler. We were talking to Stephen Kotler about like future technologies and, you know, launching satellites into orbit and layering and converging technologies, and like those episodes just like fascinate me. And I think we're getting to a point where our guests, it's more and more like one of the two. We're either insanely fascinated by the guest, and sometimes both, right? Or we just like really hit it off with them, and we're just like, these are our people. We can talk to this person for hours. And I feel like we've done that a lot lately.
Yeah, we're finding a good flow with the folks we bring on, and I really wish this could be like a daily podcast, because we literally have like, of the people who have reached out to be on our show, and I'm not talking to cold outreach people. If you're listening to the show and you're cold outreaching, or if you're a press person, like, sorry if we're ignoring you. Like, or if like, or we just can't get you on the show. It's like, it literally, we're booked out by like months, and B, we have this list of like 50 people, no shit, in an Airtable that are people that we actually have already said, yes, you are going to be on, and they've come through a warm connection, probably through our Dream 100 process or some other way. But those are the people that are going to be on the show. But it's because these are the folks that you're talking about. Like, these are the ones that we're relating to, or fascinated in the subject or the person. And that's like my big realization this last month, I would say, with the podcast is, we've been podcasting like a mofo lately. And I look at my calendar, I'm like, crap, another podcast. Like, that's a full day. I know because I kind of know the after state my mind will be in. Like we talked about, I'm like, man, I'm going to be drained.
It's so worth it during it though.
No, it is. And that's what I'm getting to, is like, but I had to reframe that, because I'm like, but holy shit. Like, think about the ability, like just the ability to be in the seats that we are in. I'm not in a seat right now, but like, when normally I was like, we get to talk to these people that are doing insane things, and they're coming to us for an hour at a time at least. I want to be as much curiosity as possible. Like, I know if I'm going to come into this thing super curious, I'm going to just be locked into the interview. I'm not going to be distracted. I mean, I don't ever have my phone on me during podcast days, but I'm not going to even think about other shit. Like, I'm in the zone, and I know that's going to, curiosity and good question, all that stuff, enthusiasm, it's going to make the other person feel great. It's going to make you feel great as a co-host, but like the guest, the listener, everybody's going to benefit from that. And I know I will as well, even though I might have a big ass headache after I'm done. I'm sure as hell going to, like, it's probably because my brain's freaking swelled and inflamed with all this cool shit that I just learned, that like, I would not trade that for the world, man. It's such a cool thing.
Yeah, it's so like fun. We spend multiple days a month purposely turning the fire hose of information on ourselves.
That's pretty much it. And I feel like our filters are getting better. And maybe this is something we can kind of transition to a little bit, talking about our business and some of these things, is I feel like we've built better bumpers. I mean, this is an analogy. This is going to Nick Peterson. That's his kind of terminology, but we know what we're doing as a business and as a duo, we know our roles, we know our team's roles, we know what we're focused on, we know our projects, like, so we're not going to just go like shiny object, like randomly, like, okay, so TikTok's hot. All right, cool, let's go start a TikTok campaign. You and I, Matt, are going to get really good at dancing, and let's just make TikTok videos all week, and then we're going to batch record all it. Like, no, we're not going to do that. It's like it doesn't fit in our thing right now. In the future, but TikTok's still around. I don't know. It's probably gonna get banned or something. I hear.
Isn't it like a Chinese spy tool now or something? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't keep up with this crap. But the point being is like, yeah, because a lot of people ask us like, dude, you get fed so much information. How do you not just go shiny object, shiny object, shiny object? It's like we used to.
Yeah.
And I just feel like now we have to and filter it through, and we definitely implement a whole bunch of this stuff, but it doesn't derail us like it did and could have in the past.
I would say we implement the stuff that's already in the vein of what we're doing. So it's like if somebody comes on and they're talking about like a TikTok strategy to work, we'll nerd out with them on the show. We'll be like, oh, that's cool. And we'll ask them a whole bunch of questions and ask them about how to do it and ask like, what steps to take to do it and that kind of stuff. But we're more doing that for the audience. We're not going and setting up TikTok, but if you're listening and you want to set up TikTok, cool. Now you have an instruction manual to how to do it, right? So that's kind of our thinking with it. Now, if somebody comes on and is like, hey, here's a way to like improve your CPMs on your Facebook ads, I'm sitting there taking notes because I'm going to execute that shit because we're currently running Facebook ads, right? Or if we have somebody on here who's like, here's how to make sure your YouTube videos are getting seen by more people, we're going to implement that shit because YouTube is one of the rabbit holes we're focused on right now. So like we've had to get real good at asking questions as if we were going to go do it ourselves, but then compartmentalizing that and only really like going and taking action on the stuff that's already in the veins of what we're working on.
Yeah. So I think our filters are growing, and like, hey, bring on the information overload. It's cool, man. We're going to find some way to connect it if it's relevant. If not, we're going to share it with everyone. And it's going to be amazing content. And that was one of the big reasons why we started the podcast in the first place, is give it all away for free and get the best information, be super curious. And, we can talk the talk with almost everyone we bring on the show enough to get dirty and like really ask the right questions. I feel like that's what we're getting the flow down.
That's something that I had to sort of get over too, is the feeling that I need to be able to talk the talk. It's like we can talk the talk with most of our guests that we bring on. But I've always sort of held back because I was afraid like, I'm not speaking their language now. But now if we don't talk the talk, the guest is going to help us talk the talk, right? They'll correct us. They'll point us in the right direction. They'll help us be able to better talk the talk. So that's
because we're curious, like we're genuinely be like, hold on, like, and that's literally a line. I just wrote this article in Podcast Magazine about this. Is like and if you listen to like Joe Rogan is like a perfect example of this. We study him a lot, and like Charisma on Command is an amazing YouTube channel that break down some of his best qualities and a bunch of other people's too. But like, it's listening, it's being super curious, it's using Chris Voss, we've had him on the show, hostage negotiator for FBI for a long time. How and what questions are calibrated questions that open up the other person, and like they're not like a poking type of question, like a why, like why would you do that, or why do you do, like that's like an accusation, like you don't want to do that necessarily. You can mix them in, but like how and what question. And I'll even be like, hey, so I'm curious about this. How would you do blah, 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 and like, that's going to open up a whole freaking rabbit hole. And like, that's the opportunity to learn. So that's what we're doing.
I used to not ask people to define things too. Like they may use like an acronym and they'll use it in the context that makes it seem like we should know what that acronym is, and I used to just kind of go, and like want to feel like I'm talking the talk with them, but now I'm just kind of like, I don't want to sound dumb, but what does that mean?
And that's totally cool. And they're not, they don't care. They're like, oh, no worries. That's blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. But I also think that's going to be what differentiates us. I think a lot of podcasts out there are, there is a little bit of arrogance, and there is a little bit of like, I want this guest to think I'm as smart as them. And with us going, no, we're going into this knowing we're not as smart as them. Otherwise, why would we have them on? If we were smarter than them on the topic, we'd make a therapy session around it. We wouldn't be interviewing you, That's
a good point. Very good point. Yeah. Like the stuff we're talking about right now, pretty good reason why we're talking about it, because there's a lot of podcasters. Man, I saw some, one of our guests that was actually on in the past, but like basically talking about a lot of structure of different I'm just like, man, that is not how we approach podcasting. And like, there's just a lot of things I just don't feel like, and maybe it helps the majority of folks. But I'm like, man, I feel like the more important thing is getting really comfortable with your own voice, owning this shit and making it your own, like not doing the comparison game of another podcast out there, or even like if you're wanting to do a YouTube channel, not another YouTube channel. It's like, you're your own voice, be curious, and then like talk the talk and just be cool. Like you'll make a good show out of it if that's your thing, or any piece of content. Like it's the whole like imposter syndrome. It's like, it's real. It's always going to be there, but don't let it stop you.
Yeah. Well, you're not going to believe this, but we're approaching an hour already.
I figured, because I just looked up and it's 2:30. I'm like, ah, crap. I think we hit like 2 points.
I know we did hit a lot. So a couple real quick things, and then we'll talk about what's kind of coming up. Coming out. So I wanted to talk about a couple companies that we're involved with, right? We just recently had an episode come out with Roland Fraser and Oliver Smallholes around Unicorn Equity, which is a company that we are a partner in. And the idea behind that, we sort of explained in that episode. In fact, Roland's the best at explaining it. That's why we brought him on for the episode.
Yeah, just go listen to that episode.
But essentially, we're helping connect software founders and affiliate marketers to promote those software founders. And instead of just a straight like commission deal, affiliates can also get revenue in the company. One of the things that's sort of an evolution of that software that platform that we didn't get into on that episode, because we recorded it before we actually started development of this piece of it, is that we're also trying to create an affiliate dashboard for affiliates, just to make keeping on top of their numbers as an affiliate easier. And I think that piece of the platform is also really, really exciting. And we didn't get to touch on it in that episode because like that was sort of an insight that came, like we recorded that episode, I don't know, 6 weeks ago or something. And like maybe a couple days after we recorded that, we started development of this dashboard concept as well, which I think is a really exciting concept.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really feel like, and you mentioned affiliate marketers, really like, you don't even need to be an affiliate marketer to be on here. Just be a promoter of some sort or an influencer. Like it's great for people on YouTube with a channel or Instagrammer, but affiliate marketing is basically it. But yeah, the dashboard thing, that's, should we get into it really quick?
I don't know. I'm debating. Do we want to like open the kimono there, or do we want to like open that loop and talk about it as it gets closer?
I think later, because it's still in development, but so what we're trying to do is basically make it easy for anyone.
Yeah.
And, to get started with affiliate marketing, but also if you are an affiliate marketer, this will be an extremely useful tool to not only save you a bunch of time, probably make you more money because you're going to have more visuals, and also find other offers that are working really well with these vetted companies that we're bringing in. Yeah. Because we have very thick, very, very heavy filters, to get on the platform. And it's, when you're working with guys like Oliver and Roland, it's definitely high quality stuff. And I think it's going to be a good mashup for a lot of folks.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, what it's going to do is it's really going to make, we're trying to create a single login where if you're an affiliate marketer, like this is your home base, this is your hub. Right. So we'll get into that in future episodes. Joe's giving me the shh sign with his finger over his mouth.
It's more because I'm time wise.
Yeah. I'm not gonna go deep into it, but yeah, we're gonna make affiliate marketers' lives a lot easier.
There you go. Yeah.
So the other software we're involved in, which we're not really going to talk about at all on this episode, is Members Pro. We're really, really excited. It's kind of imagine like a teachable Thinkific kind of membership platform, but with just like insane amounts of additional logic and things that happen when people complete courses, and it talks to your autoresponder like ActiveCampaign and can add tags and a different sort of visual style for the members areas than what you would get with like a Teachable and Thinkific. They're sort of fairly rigid, but we do have an episode that I don't think is coming out, definitely not coming out before this one, because I think the two that are coming out before this one are the Kotler episode and the so it won't be out yet, but we have an episode coming out probably like within the next week or so where we deep dive into what Members Pro is and what it's going to be capable of. So I'm not going to spend any more time really talking about it yet, because we do have a deep dive episode that's coming out soon.
Shout out to Chris Bonnetti. I know you're listening. You always do. He's our partner in that, one of our partners. And yeah, it's just really cool to be working with someone who gets us, but we all jive really well. And since knowing him even further, it's been really cool. We share a passion with music and yelling loud in microphones in music sometimes. I'll just leave that there. But yeah, so it's really cool to work with people that are just cool people, but also getting in the software game is something that we wanted to do for a long time. And now we just happen to find ourselves with two technology companies, Unicorn Equity and now Members Pro. And the coolest part is that we can really stay in our lane as the promoter, as the content creators, the connectors. Like that's us in a nutshell. That's why this podcast exists. That's why we do affiliate marketing. That's why we do deals with all these cool people. And it's freaking fun. And I think I know it's a win-win for everybody involved because we just stay in our lanes. Yep. That's what it should be.
So if you want to get an idea of what we're working on over there, memberspro.com. That site's going to be constantly evolving as new features and new cool stuff rolls out. But
things coming on that.
Yeah, you can get involved now. You can use the membership platform now over at memberspro.com. Just be aware there's a lot of cool stuff in the works that's going to be coming out over the next several weeks and months with that platform. So pretty pumped there. And then final thing, let's quickly chat about what our listeners can expect and what's kind of coming out over the next few.
Yeah, who do we have? I don't have the calendar in front of me, but I think you do
now. Yeah. So we have the ones that we've already recorded. So
yeah, let's talk about those ones soon to be released.
Yeah, so by the time this came out, Zachary Babcock will have been released, David Jennings will have been released, and Stephen Kotler will have been released. The ones that we've recorded already that are coming out after this episode, we've got Mark Webster. So he's the one of the co-founders of Authority Hacker. Really, really cool discussion around content marketing and SEO and built like partnerships that actually work. So some cool stuff.
We really related a lot with him, and he has a really cool business model behind the scenes that anyone can essentially model, and they even train you on that as well. So cool guy, and you'll like that episode.
Yeah, Nick Peterson. He's coming out that same week. He'll be out on Thursday. That one was really good. He's gonna shift your mind around on some things in your business and systematization and backing yourself out and how do you juggle so many different businesses at one time. A lot of cool rabbit holes we go down there. The following week after that, we have John Cristani and Ryan Moran coming out. That's another week. That's going to be a fucking killer week when those two episodes drop in the same week.
So John Cristani is a prolific affiliate marketer, and he's doing it with a different route than we do. So, but he teaches people at even a ground level of how to grow affiliate marketing as a business. And yeah, he's built like the ultimate lifestyle business with what he's doing. So that's cool. And then you have Ryan Moran, who's of capitalism.com and owns a bunch of other stuff as well. And he broke down essentially just, we talk all over the place about it, things like the implications of COVID and like all the things it's done for businesses, systems that are changing quickly. Baseball. We talked about baseball.
We did talk about baseball because he wants to own the Cleveland Indians. So we had to touch on that.
At the time of this recording, interestingly enough, I looked at the standings, and Padres are 4-1, which is the first time in like 23 years or something. I heard. True story, which is sad. And then the other one, only like one of three teams in the whole MLB is the freaking Indians. Cleveland Indians are 4-1 as well. So I was like, ooh, I should send Ryan a little like, who's going to take that?
Yeah. Well, we're not going to be playing each other this year. That's for sure.
No, I know. Yeah.
But yeah,
hopefully the season will complete to the end.
Yeah.
That's on eggshells too.
No, that'll be cool. We also talked with Ryan about, he has a book called 12 Months to 7 Figures, and it's kind of like he has a 3-phase process of literally exactly that. Like how, if you had 12 months, and I think he said if you had $10,000 to invest, how you can turn that $10,000 into $1 million per year business within 12 months. And he sort of breaks that down into like a 3-phase process too. So that's pretty cool. So that's that'll be the following week. The week after that, we've got Chris Bonnetti, the episode we we're just talking about, where we really dive deep into what Members Pro is. So that'll be coming out around the 25th. And then our 300th episode is coming out after that.
And I don't know what we're going to talk about, but we'll figure it out soon. It'll probably be like this one, but a recap more of probably, the evolution of the last.
Or if we get enough of you actually submitting your questions and submitting your words of praise and your favorite episodes and all that good stuff, we're going to, if we get enough of that, then we know what we're talking about. We're talking about that stuff. If it comes in trickles, then we're going to have to find some other interesting things to talk about as well.
Post them in the group, like we said, at flowchartgroup.com, or email us info@Evergreen Profits, and we'll make sure that you are heard.
Yeah. And then these other ones, I'm going to list them off real quick, but these are ones that like the date that they're going to actually come out isn't finalized yet. Recording date's finalized, release date's not. We got Jeff Spencer, who works with freaking Olympians, Tiger Woods,
Lance Armstrong. He is a total. Got to thank Nick Peterson for an introduction to Dr. Jeff Spencer, and this guy is basically a massive mindset championship. Like, he literally coaches elite athletes to championships, like gold medals, Olympians. Well, he was an Olympian himself, is an Olympian.
Guys like Tiger Woods and Lance Armstrong should kind of put that in perspective right there.
just a little guy doing tiny names like that. So he's going to break down his model with us. He's already broken it down for us, and it's really good.
Yeah, we got Taylor Welch coming on. He's from Traffic and Funnels. Real fun guy. We read his newsletter every month, and I relate to their business a lot because they kind of have that similar, like, we take business seriously, we take ourselves not seriously. We have Laura Gale coming on, very prolific writer, teaches people how to write books. We have Mika Schanzer. I think that's how the name is said. Mika.
I don't know the pronunciation.
But they talk about flow states and altered consciousness. So that'll be an interesting one to talk about after having talked to Kotler about similar stuff. Yeah. We got Tom Sylvester coming on talking about systems. We got Anthony Trucks coming on, which I'm kind of excited because he's an ex-NFL player, but was on American Ninja Warrior, which I love American Ninja Warrior. My family watches that. So excited to sort of nerd out on some of those topics. We're going to talk business with him, but I am still going to nerd out on some of that stuff with him.
Yeah. And I had a chat with him recently, and he's on his game. He's like he's a kind of a performance coach, peak mind, state kind of guy, but he's he's prolific in what he's doing, and he's taken off on YouTube and all that stuff. Instagram, you can check him out there if you're kind of getting to know him.
Yeah. We have Dan Martell coming on, which he helps grow SaaS companies, so software companies. He kind of gets in there, figures out where he can make some tweaks, and then really just helps blow up software companies. And then we have Justin Shank. I think that's how his last name is pronounced, which I think you had a call with him yesterday.
Just yesterday. Yeah. So he has another podcast, and I don't remember what it's called. It's Growth to something. And it's Growth
I'll tell you
something.
in a second. It's called Justin Shank is the host of the top rated podcast, The Growth Now Movement.
Growth Now Movement. Yeah. So we walk in similar paths along with this guy. He's been at Podfest and spoken there many years and all that stuff. So I think he's gonna give you a similar perspective, but different perspective around podcasting, the evolution of how media is changing. And also he's involved with events, and he's done a lot of stuff offline, but he's taking that online. There's a lot of business owners kind of in this weird limbo right now. So he's going to be a good one and really break down what he's doing to essentially thrive during these times, but also give you a little insight into the future and content and just how you should kind of position yourself. Very similar to our thinking. So he'll be a good one to riff with.
Yep. And that's the end of our confirmed guest list. We have some other people we're talking to. I was going to say some names, but I won't, just in case they don't ever pan out.
It's all good. Let's leave it there. Any last final words for this episode, or?
Let's see. What else do we have going on that maybe we haven't mentioned? We're doing a cool project with Jay Abraham that we'll be emailing about in a bit. So that's going to be fun.
Let's leave that there for now. We're doing a lot, but I think let's leave it till next time, man.
Cool.
I think we're good. We covered a lot. So appreciate everyone listening this far. And Dean, if you're still here, let me know. Dean Booty. I figured he's still listening.
Send us a question. Send us a question to read out on our 300th episode so that we can answer it and we have something to talk about.
Yeah, Jim, Barry, Nancy, all of you guys should ask questions. Everyone asks questions. Be curious here. So we want to address those in the 300th episode. It's going to be a good time, and we'll figure out the video situation on the beach. I don't know how that's going to work.
iPhone video, most likely, but
yeah. All right. Well, and join the email or join the Facebook group, flowchartgroup.com. It's free and you'll get notified for all the cool stuff happening, including that thing, that little live stream with Aaron and of MindFix. And then also get the EGP membership in the letter. Like I said, $15 a month for the physical. If not, get the digital, $59 a year. If you're having, if money's a thing, that's all good. Shoot us an email, info@evergreenprofits, and we'll work it out with you.
Yep, that's at EG.